So picture yourself in a small town, and there's a tradition that your town does every week. And everyone knows that this tradition is coming. And you participate regardless because you live in that area. Basically what occurs is you have a group of pieces of paper that everyone in the town is given. Until and then as in unison, everyone opens their piece of paper. All of the pieces of paper are blank except one. The one that's not blank has a mark on it. That mark means you win the lottery. But it's not a lottery that's in your favor. Because then to the side of where everyone is standing is a group of stones. And what occurs with these stones is that they're basically pelted at the person who wins, quote unquote, the lottery of having the black mark on their piece of paper and being stoned to death. If you have not seen or know anything about the short story called The Lottery, you may want to listen to that or watch it. You may want to watch it, and you'll understand this podcast a lot clearer as to what I'm going to address. What is good? What's going on? Past podcasts, back at it again. I guess you can call this a 2-for-1. I did do one for a brief moment that I'm going to go back and listen to and then record and have that go up. And I was thinking about this and it crossed my mind, and I decided I would go ahead and share it because it was learned in a story that I was watching. I watched a series called One and Not Done, ESPN 30 for 30, that addressed the process or the trend that John Calipari embraced, where if you decide that you're really trying to set yourself up for the opportunity to play in the NBA, that you come to his school and he's going to make it clear to you whether you're in need of staying for another year or, finishing out your 4 years and, graduating with a degree, or if it's like, hey, that lottery pick is looking quite nice. You might want to go ahead and just follow your dreams. I shared the lottery story at the beginning because, and this is, I'm almost going to make this a 2-for-1 podcast. And the only reason I'm doing so is because it's a coincidence, because my friend currently is recording her podcast, and I'm becoming this big believer in getting people to understand something that I have been forced to face in the last couple of months, let alone years, with what I'm doing with podcasting. For some strange reason, we're scared to take that risk. And I'm going to be accountable for what I'm about to say. There are risks that I have been scared to take that could help my future, my career, my brand on so many levels. But because I'm so worried about the outcome, the fear of insert your thing here, Ashley, I'm sorry, but I had to do it. But that moment of that process of something coming along and you're afraid of what will come from what you do. I'm gonna give a story. I feel like majority of my podcasts are story time, but they're fun story time. So a friend of mine is venturing into doing podcasting, and she's got a gift or talent that will work for what she's doing. But she's trying to think of everything at the end. The ending is not what you want to concern yourself with. You need to concern yourself with the beginning. This thing right here, sorry that was so loud. If it was, don't be mad. This part of just sitting and recording and talking about what you want to address is the most important part. I am going to explain this and I'm going to emphasize this to people. And I'm sorry if I am talking slow or not, or enunciating very thoroughly, but there's a method to my madness. And I want you to think about this. And I want people who are listening or that tune into my show to really get an overall view of where I'm coming from. Let's say you have a website. Let's say you bought a domain. You worked on your website. You got your hosting. You got everything. You know, your equipment. Matter of fact, I'm sorry, you don't even have equipment yet. We got everything on the opposite end, like the things that we're trying to get to, that we want everybody to see. But we have no content. We have no equipment. We have no software. How are we going to get to step 5 if we haven't completed step 1? Think about that. Just put yourself in the perspective of understanding that. I'll give you an even better example. I have to get to work by a specific time. I have to be on the phones at a specific time. I have to get through traffic at a specific time. Those 3 things are important to get through to getting to my goal of going through my day, to complete my day. But I need to wake up. I need to take a shower. I need to acknowledge that it's a new day. I need to be thankful for that day. I need to make sure I got my hygiene, my toiletries, got my morning day right. Let me get some clothes on. Oh, let me go ahead and, make sure I got shoes on. Let me walk out the door and get to this car with no key that I need to go back and eventually get because I don't have it. So if you're doing things out of order or thinking of the reverse part of the order, you're missing the primary portion of the order. And we sometimes get so trapped in the finish that we don't understand we have to race to get to the finish. The same applies with anything that you're doing as a skill or a talent. I've challenged anyone, and I'm doing this because it is how I learned. If you are trying to, and I'm saying this as a warning, and I've done this in my podcast every day in April. So if you heard this before, you can close your ears if you know where I'm about to go with this. If you are striving to have a perfectionist based, or rather, let me rephrase that. If you're pushing for your podcast to be perfect, or your whatever it is you're doing to be perfect, I'm going to give you a challenge. Just do it. Don't edit it. Don't modify it. Just do it. So I'll give my 3 things that I do now with podcasting, with streaming, and with blogging. With podcasting, if you have the recording software and you have a microphone, record. Sit down, set up your microphone. If you want to get an outline just for giggles, get an outline. Be dangerous. But just do it. Record. Don't worry about the exhales. If something messes up, like let's say the kid comes in the background and you hear them talking, don't mute the microphone. Just record. Post it to that program that you downloaded, that RSS feed that you were using to get to your podcast. Do all of those things. You're going to learn immediately and catch on to the simple fact that it's okay to make errors and make mistakes. I go back and listen to a lot of my older podcasts, and the best podcasts that I do are the ones that are silly and improv. The less scripting, the better the flow of the content becomes. If you're spending your energy and your time and looking at, oh, I need to make sure I say this, or let me pause it right here and then talk about something else, or let me add this little random moment that no one's going to notice, to this part. Bloggers. If you're really up in the air about blogging, write a blog. Come up with an article, a thought that you want to share. Put it on paper first and then write it. Or if you really brave, write it out and just write it on, go to the blog site, WordPress, Tumblr, Blogger, whichever one you're using. And just share it. Just do it. Don't take your time or your chances on trying to figure out how it's going to look, how it's going to sound, how it's going to flow. Just write it. And then publish it. Don't edit it. Don't proofread it. Just do it. Streaming, if you're into Twitch. If you have the capture card, if you have the computer, if you have the... Matter of fact, let me step back. Let me step back on the streaming. I'm sorry. You have an Xbox One or you have a PlayStation 4. You have the program built into your computer, aka your video game system, to stream. Stream. Don't even read chat. Don't promote that you're doing a stream. Just do it. I'm giving those examples and I'm giving that scenario to people and letting it be known how to learn from that, because if you invest that time and that energy into the what if and what I didn't do and I should have did this and I feel like I don't have this, those are the things you learn as you continue that skill or that craft. Blogging, if I told y'all how long I've been blogging, you would be surprised. It's 2017. I almost want to say I've been blogging at least 15 years. So that might be why the blogging, and I talked about this in my last podcast, that might be why the blogging thing is good for me, but I got the balance of the imbalance where if I decide I don't really want to do a blog, I can do a podcast. For the podcasters, podcasting has been out for a while, but podcasting for me is new. So it's been, 2 years is new. Because you got some people that's been podcasting 10 years. And I'm like, yeah, more props to you, bro, because I'm not there yet. I may get there down the line, we never know. But in the here and now, in the current, it's an ongoing learning curve. You learn as you go. I always give this story, and I always remember listening to the podcast when I talked about this. My biggest thing that I always find amazing, the microphone that I'm talking to you all on now was not the microphone I used. Well, I had a different microphone, but that was the microphone that I used to record my podcast. The podcast was recorded using the microphone that was built in on the computer. And I swore it was recording just right. And until I went back and really listened to the birds chirping, it was so out of the box and so in a different place that I caught on to it and realized where it all made sense. And I learned. I was learning how to use different programs. I learned how to use Spreaker and record directly through Spreaker. I learned everything. I was that self-learner. I had to take my chances with it and just kind of get a flow and a feel for what I was doing and what my next step was and what I just said. No, I'm just kidding. I always don't ask me why I always refer to her in podcasts, but it just never gets old. Anyway, I want this to be about finding that chance and taking it. We have nothing but life ahead, so that risk that we could possibly be taking isn't going to impact us to the point that we can't get what we want to get done. No one knows where you stand and what you're trying to do without you at least attempting to do it. Your skills are gonna show for themselves. You're gonna realize where you said 3,000 times. You're going to see yourself making the white noises in the midst of your episodes. That's okay. That's what makes you that's what makes you improve and learn on what you did wrong. It's even better when the mistakes are in the podcast or in the blog and you can see them, and either they can be modified or they can just say, hey, if somebody read this, they're not going to sit and be caught up in this. They'll see like, hey, I messed up. I gotta clean up what I messed up. I'm starting my life over again. And we don't, sorry, y'all know me. I will go into song mode at all costs. But just take that 2 seconds of just look. It's like literally your microphone or your, and I'm referring to podcasting because that's what I'm doing now. Your microphone or your talking topic is going to be listened to by millions of people. Now, if millions of people mean 12 people listen to it, you record like all 12 of them are right in front of you listening to what you're saying. Take your chances. Let everything else come naturally. I think because I've had this stated to me, it made me learn how to just be patient on things that I wanted to have happen with what I was doing. Because now stuff is coming together. And more things are down the road that nobody knows about. But I love it. And I like it. I'm just letting it just be what it is and progressing. So that's what I'm leaving you all with tonight. And I'm going to do some listening and come up with images and thoughts and expressions and share and let you all know what's going down. Because there's nothing but bigger and better things ahead. And I'm going to leave y'all with this note. Branding is more important when it comes to what you're trying to do to take yourself to the next level. You know your next level better than anyone else does. Work towards it and let that next level speak for itself. Because once you hit the next level, the brand becomes second nature. Until next time, thank you all for tuning in. Past podcasts will be back at it again. Who knows when. I feel as though I need to get that copy written or get some credibility to my boy, because he back at it again is like this. It sticks, and so we might have to work on that. So I'm gonna present that to him. But anywho's, be good, stay blessed, stay positive. Till next time.